Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bella Gamer, and today's video may shock you as well. I'm going to talk about Wizards of the Coast and why they're good for the tabletop community. Crazy, right? So, before you bring out the pitchforks and torches, let's ask some questions and get to the bottom of this, shall we? Why does everyone want Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro to fail when it comes to D&D? And I'm sure the answers are pretty obvious. It's very corporate. A lot of people are tired of a company trying desperately to squeeze every last penny out of the community, and as well sending Pinkertons, even though technically that's Magic the Gathering related still. I mean, the sins go on and on. The OGL nonsense was also pretty bad. And there's a lot of corporate overhead that is currently ruining at least D&D and making it worse. There's also the one D&D debacle, which is just new D&D 5e. And, you know, there's also a ton of people who just don't like D&D 5e and just want other games to succeed. Now, on that front, people are entitled to like whatever kind of games they like, but people need to remember people still really enjoy D&D 5e. Now, 1D&D is a big mess in a lot of ways, and even some of Dungeons and Dragons' biggest defenders are noticing and starting to, it's surprising the sheer number of D&D content creators who now either talk about Pathfinder 2e on occasion or are playing it behind the scenes while still doing D&D content, because I mean, it's just the next step in tabletop gaming for them. It's like D&D, only better for the GM, better for the player in the end, and overall more complete experience. Now, there's no saying that D&D 5e is not better for casual slash newcomers to the genre. I actually agree with that statement. It is a game that is a really good gateway to TTRPGs. But I feel like a lot of people underestimate how easy it is for people. Whatever. I'm gonna get into the debate again, and that's not what this video is about. So why am I going to defend Wizards of the Coast? Well, I myself have said in the past that if Wizards of the Coast messes D&D up enough, it's going to be like a whale fall. There's going to be a lot of people or a lot of companies that benefit when, a bigger player becomes less tasteful to the community as a whole, right? That there is this idea that just because D&D fails, other TTRPGs will rise and fill the space, and that's really not true. Wizards of the Coast and what they've done with Dungeons and Dragons has been questionable. It has been for years. I mean, even the marketing for 4E could have been better. There's a lot of people who genuinely like 4E, and I feel like it could have had a much better presence in the gaming space if Wizards of the Coast had managed it better. But they didn't. And so we got what was a more casual, in a sense, version of D&D that's just a bit more open. Now, it's not an RPG light system as a lot of people says it is, but that doesn't mean it's not very easy to get into, because it relatively is, speaking of general TTRPGs. It's just very easy to get into. Also, that's where we got things like Dimension 20, Critical Role, companies that have, well, actually they are companies now, but organizations that have taken D&D and run with it and kind of made it their own thing. So that being the case, why does Wizards of the Coast need to like survive? Okay. The what brings people to tabletop is money. No matter how you look at it, it's money. People don't understand how many people discover tabletop pretty much every day because of D&D. And when if Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons just instant flopped, it became super unpopular to play D&D, there would be a significant move to other tabletop games. I mean, if you look at any Pathfinder 2e content creator in the months of January, February, and March, we got a huge boom of new views, subscribers, and the like because of the people who were looking for a different game at the time. And now that has definitely quite settled down. It's still something that a lot of people are expecting to happen again. And that same thing would happen again, but it wouldn't last forever, because as it has already not lasted forever, a lot of people who went to Pathfinder ended up not liking it as much as they thought they would and ended up going back to D&D 5e. A lot of people also just like D&D 5e as a very casual thing, and if D&D fails, they're just going to drop tabletop in general. It's not because tabletop isn't fun, it's just because tabletop is not necessarily super fun for everyone and not worth extra hassle to get into. Now, the niche of tabletop has expanded greatly in the last 10 years, pretty much. Not quite 10 years, but about 7 years, give or take. And it's flourished, honestly, more than it ever has. I'm a long-time tabletop player, well before the boom, back before it was cool. And I've seen it, and it's very amazing where it has been. And it's all thanks to Wizards of the Coast and D&D. No matter how much you disagree, that is just the cold, hard facts. Now, this video is prompted by news that's not news. Something that was announced at the beginning of September is now getting spouted around about Wizards of the Coast not going with one of their publishers, killing their book sales in retail stores, which isn't true. They dropped one of like 6 publishers, and they still have plenty of publishers. And while it may reduce some of the books in some stores, they're not going away. But people are looking for every excuse to try to, shit on D&D. And the thing is, it's because it gets views. It's because people want D&D to fail. But what you don't understand about D&D is it's shouldering the whole market. If it was to go away, the tabletop market would essentially crash. Not necessarily that no companies could make money on tabletop anymore. They do the same as they did before. Heck, Paizo would be doing about the same as they would be doing before. But the hobby in general could very well just die out, lose a lot of its momentum. The thing is that tabletop is not a very lucrative field. And so a lot of companies don't have the marketing, ability to go out and advertise as much as Wizards of the Coast can, or Hasbro, really. That's where we are. That's the situation. Wizards of the Coast has to keep bearing the cross in order for us all to be saved. It's a crazy analogy, but it's something that needs to happen. I'm not trying to compare Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to Jesus Christ. I'm just saying that without them, everything crumbles. Nothing can stand. They are the backbone of TTRPGs. Whether you like it or not, whether it's your game or not, that's just the case. They have the budget. They can make movies. They can make pretty good games, or at least pay someone to make very good games. I am not in any way condoning the corporations of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. I don't want them to succeed any more than anyone else does. But I do want tabletop to flourish. And so you have to make a deal with the devil. It's just how it is. It was never this popular before, And it wasn't even popular back in the D&D 4E days, but 5E has been the most accessible tabletop has been. It has been the most marketable that tabletop has ever been. And you cannot go into like a Barnes and Noble or any other bookstore without seeing the black and red D&D books like everywhere. People are picking them up very casually so. And it's because it sells. And the thing is, it's an open market. It's not like they have a monopoly. It's an open market. Anyone could sell these games, right? But why don't you see such big collections of anything else? I mean, it's money in the end. So if the D&D goes away, the TTRPG book section shrinks. It does not fill out with other books because that's what it was in the past because they just didn't sell super well. Occasionally novelty so, but not anything very major. You have to go to specialty stores to really find actually like different like game stores to find different TTRPGs, and even then the selections aren't that big. It's crazy to me how we're still in this kind of very juvenile stage where without D&D we can't survive. It's the game we have to parasite off of to make our games flourish, whatever those games may be. There's a lot of really great tabletop out there right now, and we need D&D to have a very nice and slow death. Like WoW, for instance. Because if it does, it keeps people in the market and keeps essentially advertising to people who may actually really love TTRPGs, who will discover the hobby and get into it and start looking for other games. You need this game to be just above every other game as far as fun, marketability, everything, long enough for people to come in, see it, enjoy it, and then want something better when they find that it's actually not doing well. The reason why the TTRPG has succeeded so well is because D&D 5e is genuinely a really, really fun game that actually becomes less fun over time when you start figuring the game out and it starts breaking down on itself because it's just not super well fleshed out. Now, if D&D becomes better made, that might cause problems. If D&D falls even harder than it already has, that may cause problems. Right now, D&D is actually doing the best it can for the community. It's just at a level where it's fun enough to get people in, but not too fun to keep people held overly long who would love other types of TTRPGs. It just needs to stay this way. It needs to stay this ailing, failing company for as long as possible until the TTRPG community has many more legs to stand on. Because as much as Paizo is trying their best, they still can't make up the difference, and that's just the cruel fate of it. But I'm sure many of you will disagree. So, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Also, I know this is not necessarily my typical type of content, but if you've enjoyed it and enjoy talks on tabletop or like various things on tabletop in general, subscribe. And actually, later today that this video is going out, we're going to be having table talk where we're going to be talking about this very same subject. So if you want to give your opinions live, check us out at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.